morning. Welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Wednesday, the 21st of March. So looking at the euro dollar, and well, yesterday we ended up what looks quite a positive start of the day, but it did roll over, and it's found its support line, this trend line here, taking a bit of a bounce off it for now. It does still look at that lower highs coming through, lower lows still coming through. It does look weak, and we're not too far away from this daily pivot. I want to see how it reacts to this. Yes, it is. It's through its 60 moving averages there, but I do wonder if it'll how it will react to this pivot. Now, I don't need to be trading the pivot or any short into the pivot, but I could be looking at a trend line across the lows. If I can put one on, that'd be good, of course. There we go. So I'll get a trend line across these lows. This isn't going to be very well drawn, but you can see what I mean. So I may look for a break of that. So at the moment, I can't buy into it unless it gives us a decent retrace into something, but I don't want to be buying just for the pivot. It's too close, so I need to look at it. Key point today at 122.50. There's quite a large option expiry, so that's way below. I say way below price, but it's below where price is at the moment. It may just draw the price back towards that sort of zone. And of course, later on today, we've got the FOMC economic projections, Fed statement, funds rate, press conference now at it's between 6 and 6:30. That is 6 o'clock initially, then 6:30 press conference. That could create quite a lot of volatility. What people will be looking for particularly is to see if the further interest rate increases are going to be made this year. So they'll be looking for sort of a firm discussions regarding that. If there's any indecision regarding that, we'll see the dollar sold. But so long as they remain firm, it will keep the dollar basically where it is at the moment because it's priced in. But we may get a bit of joy from the dollar and see some selling on that basis, but that's way later at 6 and 6:30 is the press conference itself. Okay, so what do I expect today? It to be relatively slow, but it might surprise me. You never know, it often does. The pound, well, the pound's been pushing up. I mean, yesterday it had a much smaller retracement than the euro in terms of selling off there. Looks like it may still be on for the R1, the monthly R1 there, but not massively clear. It has put a lower high in on this 4-hour section, so it's softened somewhat, but it seems to be holding its own. There's nothing in the way that I can see. Let's just check again. No, it's pretty minuscule. It's 1.4. There's a sort of the biggest option expiry. It's option expiry day today. Big option expiry day today normally. Okay, so 1.4 is well just below us. There's not a significant number even there. So overall, it's allowed to do whatever it likes to do, and even the daily R1 may be on at some point. See how that goes. It may be drawn back if the euro sells, though, of course. Dollar yen's an odd one, and we got expiries at 106 and 107. The biggest number is sitting at 106, so we may be dragged and kept down to that sort of figure. There's 3.2 billion expiring at 106, so price tends to head towards these bigger numbers and hang around that area to see that the options expire worthless. So I don't expect a lot of range in this today. It was a bank holiday as well, yeah, not expecting too much. Sorry, I should have mentioned, I just need to take one step back, and whilst looking at the pound, I should have mentioned that, of course, today we've got the employment data coming out this morning, so just to bear in mind that's at 9:30 this morning for the pound. Sorry, just flick back on that one whilst I remember it. Okay, anyway, looking back at the focusing back on the yen, there is a solid trend line again up at these lows here. Just need to watch that, but as I said, there's a couple of areas there, 106 and 107, but 106 is where the money is, or the bigger money is, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it moving back towards that maybe. uh, throughout the day. It's a very quiet Asian session here, which is no surprise with Japan not trading on a bank holiday. So that's pretty much that. Let's have a look at the Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar just not managed to do too much, selling off as well. I mean, it's pretty much in line, I guess, more so with the euro as much as anything else. There is divergence at the lows here, and I do wonder. I mean, it has got a weekly pivot above. There's some targets maybe above that it might chase. From an intraday point of view to trade it, I wouldn't touch it. From a swing point, there's obviously opportunities there, but as I say, intraday wise, the ranges are too small for me at the moment. It may well kick out at some point, but I'll step aside of that one. And finally, the Canadian dollar. Canadian dollar, well, recovering somewhat on the stronger oil price, maybe. Pulled back, almost back to its weekly pivot. I was talking about this yesterday, and well, it didn't do too much at all yesterday. Just couldn't be bothered. It's like a teenager. Can I be bothered? Okay, anyway, so the teenager of currencies is heading down towards its weekly pivot at the moment, maybe. Let's have a look on the 60. It's kicked into its daily there as well. So, as I said yesterday when I was looking at it, it's very bitty, often in the mornings, and sure enough, it did break out at 8 o'clock, but then was bitty and goes up so often. This is why I steer clear of the Canadian dollar often in the mornings. 2 o'clock, boom, it flew up and then chopped back down, and it's sold off through the Asian session here. So odd one, but there we are. As I said, heading towards that weekly pivot there potentially, but it's almost not quite put a divergence in. Again, I wouldn't be looking to trade the rest of that. I'll stand aside of it. Okay, as tempting as it may be, just to get a trade in. So really, a lot of these markets not looking particularly bright. I've got a bit of a potential set up there on the euro if it sets. The pound I'm going to leave alone. I will just look at oil. I was asked yesterday, can you include oil? Someone always asked me to include the New Zealand dollar, but I'm not going to, because you shouldn't be trading it really. So oil's still pushing up nicely. It's banged into those previous highs there. It's still got some potential, I guess, oil, in terms of the upside. One thing to watch out for, so I come back to the dailies, it will put in a bit of a Gartley pattern. So if it sort of gets up towards that sort of 64.9 area, maybe somewhere around there, there might be some selling coming in. It's where the Fibonacci numbers are for a Gartley pattern that sort of sits there. So it may not get to the highs. But if it pushes on through, well, the previous highs there is a target on oil for those that trade oil. I will do the New Zealand dollar. I do not like it to trade at all, but they did have their milk numbers coming out yesterday. So sold off strongly yesterday. One of these I prefer to keep away. Looking at the lower highs, it's more of a seller than a buyer. Maybe it's got its daily pivot above. Let's just see how it reacts into that. But again, it's one of these currencies. I really don't understand why people want to day trade it too much. Yep, you get some nice moves in it occasionally, a bit of a trend or whatever else going through it, but you can get long periods of nothing, and I'm not there to be trading nothing. And the moves are quite modest, so not really, but perhaps if it gets back to that daily pivot, it's worth watching to see the reaction. But I may as well trade the euro because I'm looking at exactly the same thing there, but with something with a lot more liquidity. So on that, I'll leave it. Have a great day. Bye for now.